If you want an indicator for just how positive gold sentiment is right now, Kinross Gold is perhaps one of the best indicators. The company on Tuesday announced that milling operations were halted at the largest mine within their portfolio following a fire. And yet, as of midday, the equity was actually trading up. This is despite no timeline to repairs being completed, no details on what exactly happened, and no suggestion on how much the repairs might even cost. And it's not even the first fire that this operation has experienced. All right, guys, let's dive in. All right, so the details here are slim at best, but here's what we know so far. A fire occurred at the Tejas mine in Mauritania on Monday. The fire is said to have been contained to the mill and was fully extinguished as of early Tuesday morning when the announcement went out that something had happened. There were no injuries reported, and mining but not milling operations are continuing on as planned. Initial assessments suggest the fire was contained to the discharge area of the SAG. And the bright side here is that critical spare parts are said to be available on site. And Kinross has stated that they aren't expecting to change guidance for the mine, at least at this time. But milling operations obviously are temporarily suspended. And that's basically the extent of what we know on the matter. There's a lot that's unknown here. Potential costs of the repair, how extensive the actual damage is, a timeline to operations restarting, or even how the fire started in the first place. But in fairness to Kinross, the truth is they likely don't have any of these answers either. And honestly, things aren't looking nearly as bad as the last fire that happened at Tayshist back in 2021. Let's take a look at that fire, for which whatever it was is a bit of a comparison to this week's events. Back in June 2021, Kinross issued a news release with the same headline as this week's announcement. Kinross reports temporary suspension of mill at Tayshist. But the initial wording of that news release suggests that this week's events are dramatically smaller than what happened at the mine previously. The 2021 version of the release indicated that the company was working with authorities with respect to investigating the fire and the potential impact on the operation. The release also made no mention of guidance changes or mining operations continuing, both details of which were included in Tuesday's announcement. A week later, Kinross issued a follow-up to that initial announcement, and well, that fire sounds like it was particularly ugly. That fire occurred during scheduled maintenance, which is said to have included welding. The fire began at the trommel screen at the SAG mill and was limited to the discharge area of the mill, but it was expensive. That fire resulted in guidance being reduced for 2021 by 300,000 ounces, with Tayshist as a whole in 2021 ultimately producing just 171,000 ounces versus 2020 production of over 406,000 ounces, which included downtime over an unrelated strike. Milling didn't resume until the fourth quarter, with the repairs costing the company a total of $59 million. But in saying that, the mill fire in 2021 was a bit of a net positive. Kinross received $90 million in the form of an insurance payout from the ordeal. So based on the numbers that they provided, they actually came out ahead from that ordeal. Aside from lost production, of course, but it's not like those unmined ounces actually went anywhere. But that's not to say the fire won't have some impact on Kinross's financials this go-round. First, the operations of Kinross are slightly less diversified in 2025 than they were in 2021, thanks in part to Russia taking control of one of Kinross's mines in 2022 as a result of international sanctions from the Russia-Ukraine war. Second, Tayshist has grown to become the premier operation at Kinross. Whereas in 2020, the mine was the third largest operation by ounces produced, in 2024 it was the largest, posting record throughput, production, and cash flow across all operations, while also being the highest margin operation. Tayshist in 2024 produced 622,000 ounces of gold. Those ounces were produced at a cost of $681 per ounce on a production cost divided by equivalent ounces sold basis. The next best operation was nearly $300 higher per ounce. In other words, it was, prior to this fire, an extremely efficient and profitable operation for Kinross. Tayshist has been in Kinross's hands since the fall of 2010, and in that time they've expanded it from the initial 8,000 ton per day operation to a now 24,000 ton per day operation. Despite this massive scale, the expected mine life still extends to 2033, with the mine life boasting 4.7 million ounces of proven and probable reserves as of year end. Alright, so let's wrap it up. There's not many details that exist on this latest fire because it's early days. Right now, Kinross is likely cleaning up the debris, still waiting to see what exactly happened, what's damaged, and what is operable. And while it may be a temporary setback, the reality here is that Tejas is so valuable to Kinross that repairs will be made quickly and things will move on. And quite frankly, things here appear to be minor in nature. Nothing on the matter could be found by us scouring local news sources or Facebook groups or anything, which in situations like this is a bit of an anomaly. So that tells us either communication has been blocked entirely, which is unlikely, or it's just not that big of a deal. Either way, we'll likely receive an update on the matter over the course of the next week. But it's not like the market appears to be all that concerned with it anyways. Alright everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Guys, if there's stories you want us to cover, please let us know in the comments section. Thanks for watching everybody.